They used to call it being a third culture kid, where you have the culture that you're born with. For me, being from Texas, and then the culture that you grow up in, which would be Indonesian, and then but you don't really fit into either of those.
I can beat you at Tetris. I don't say this to boast, but to illustrate a fact. You see, I was that kid in high school who sat by himself at lunch in the corner of the cafeteria with a beat-up Game Boy. It was like I had a force field around me powered by social awkwardness and unapproachability.
10, I think. It was 1989, and my dad worked for an oil company and was a geologist, so that's where the oil was, I guess. So.
Justin grew up in Indonesia, a fact that I didn't learn until I happened to ask him about this thing in his living room.
Yeah, we both grew up in Jakarta.
I had no idea.
Whereas before I was intimidated by him. After all, he is a small business owner. I mean, the president talks about small business owners.
Outside of the band, I run the studio, Shine Studios.
I suddenly felt something snap into place, like I had learned some essential truth, like I had found someone very much like me.
I just played a ton of guitar. Yeah, that's all I would do. Like, I would sit in my dorm room and, my roommate would, go party with some other people, and yeah, I just play guitar constantly.
I don't think third culture kids tend to be adventurous. I know I'm not. I'm a man of 2-hour naps. I'm a man of severe sinus attacks. I'm a man who will hang out with the dog all night at a party.
Speak. You take a bow?
Oh.
How do we go from there? Any of us. I can still feel the shadow of that acne-riddled kid from high school. How do you go from the comfort and safety of solidarity to... Wait, what the hell is that? We're not actually, flying in that, right? Because my Hyundai is literally bigger than that. Guys? Guys? Is this... Are we serious right now? Is this actually happening? Are there parachutes at least? thought I'd say the phrase, "Dig deep, fellas, dig deep," unironically, but then I never thought I'd be pushing a broken down van off of train tracks. Cody asked me if I would help him shoot a music video for the band. He told me it was about gambling and the devil, and at some point Blake would have an engine strapped to his chest. Well, no one said he lacked ambition. This is essentially all filmmaking is, by the way. Repetition and sweat and repetition and sweat. It's a grind. And I'm not complaining. It's better than, say, stuffing envelopes for 8 hours a day or dealing with managers who have more power than leadership ability. But it's not easy. That isn't stopping Cody from diving right in.
We try and plan, we try to have a concrete concept and a concrete idea of what we're going to do, but a lot of times we're working on deadlines, and lately I kind of have the attitude where it's best just to kind of go out and do it.
We're gonna get you.
I am bad at that. Cody is a different kind of filmmaker, the kind of filmmaker that I often envy. He wrote a script about Blake betting on horses, and so we went to bet on horses, in that van, the same day it broke down. If that were me, I would have called it a day. I would have slept off the heat exhaustion, and there was heat exhaustion, and then moped around for a few days just for good measure. But not Cody. He just got a new alternator for the van. It helps that Blake here is always down for an adventure. It helps that these guys are such good friends.
First time we were sitting around with him, and Eric goes, "Blake, on board, tell me a story." And Blake goes, it doesn't even skip a beat. He's like, "Man, you know how change gets lost, like in your couch? And I was sitting on my couch the other day, like, with no pants on, and then I went and I took a shower, like he's sitting on his couch naked. And then I went and I took a shower, and I was in the shower and I was like washing my hair, and then all the coins that were stuck to my that I didn't know about fell off on the shower, and they like made this huge like reverberating sound and scared the fuck out of me." So it's seriously like Eric's like, "Hey man, tell me a story," and that's what he says.
Oh, and this is probably one of the best parts of filmmaking, when an actor can't stop laughing. And here comes the deep breath. And there he goes. Yeah, that never works. I would come to learn that this kind of almost laughably zealous undertaking is not especially unusual for these guys.
Well, the idea was that we would find interesting spaces in Texas to do live performances in and do music videos in, but like record the audio as well, so they're actually performances. And we wanted them to be interesting visually as well as sonically. First one we did was out in Monaghan Sandhills State Park, which looks just like Tatooine, and only prettier.
When the Monaghan Sandhills starts orbiting twin suns, then give me a call.
We tried to record a little bit, and it was like super windy, and so we don't have any windscreens for Cody's mic. We all took our socks off and like literally like wrapped our socks around the capsules of the microphones, and then
we've been
like duct taped them. So if you look in the video, Cody's singing into a mic that's got like two of his and like one of Garrett's socks on it, and he's like all up in that.
It's so good. It's so good.
I figured this was just another band with more ambition than sense. But can you blame me? Listen to this madness.
Our initial idea was some sort of convoluted idea where we were going to film each other, film the band playing on the sand dunes, and then we were going to take that footage, edit it down in like an hour, and then wait for nightfall, and then project that footage onto the sand dunes with ourselves in it again, like projections on ourselves, and try to line up the projections with ourselves. Yeah, and then it started storming once we were filming.
Of course, the day that Royal Forest is doing a video is the one day out of the year that it decides to just downpour. And so it started coming in. And it actually kind of saved the video because we had like a much more in-depth idea that was just destined to fail. The storm kind of saved us, and that it gave some, I don't know, definitely put some drama and some comedy into the video.
They didn't get what they wanted, but they got something. They got something rather extraordinary, just because they tried.
It just happened to where, you know, you kind of capture a moment once you start doing something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. I think it gets us out of our comfort zone, because having a studio that we can do whatever we want in, and there's hundreds and hundreds of instruments in there. I think we get sort of lost in all the options we've got sometimes. So it's fun to literally get out of the studio.
But sometimes it doesn't work out.
Convince these people to let us shoot in a submarine from World War II.
The submarine one, I wish we could show you footage of it. It was so cool. It sounded awesome in there.
Didn't really have a game plan of how to finish it, and then now that song's really old, so we're like, well, let's not worry about finishing that.
So they let it go. This happens a lot, I find, in any creative field. During the bad days, you think that you shouldn't even bother.
Oh, there's a train coming. No, get out! I mean, they're gonna say something.
But sometimes, if you're lucky, you're reminded why you should.
Alright. Guess we'll film it. It's on the other side. Yeah.
That's when this became a snuff film.
Alright, slow down a little bit.
There's a really cool shot.
Yeah. See that guy pour water on Blake?
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought.
Alright, turn around. We're gonna try to get it again. Jump in. Stop real quick. Jump in here. Try to get it again real quick. Alright, flip it around.
There's some liquid. Yeah,
I'm not
did
sure
he
what it
really?
was. I think it's water. God, I hope so. He looked kind of angry.
Why demand so much of the people around you? Drive them 2 hours out of town to a racetrack, or out to the sand dunes, or into a submarine, or some train tracks where your van breaks down on a 103-degree day. I don't exaggerate when I say filmmaking, or any act of creation, can and often is agonizing and takes over your mind, and sometimes makes you say horrible things to the people you love. Why demand so much of yourself? Because of this. Because sometimes this job gives you chills. Because sometimes you're in the right place at the right time, and the light is perfect and everything comes together for just a moment. You exit yourself. All your anxieties and imperfections, all your stupid problems and your stupider past are left behind. And all that remains is a man behind a camera. It makes it all worth it. Worth all the sweat and endless hours of editing. And, well, as it turns out, air sickness.
I have an idea for another one.
Which one?
John Denver.
Oh yeah, the The airplane one?
Yeah, we're gonna shoot one inside a small airplane.
Like while it's flying?
Yeah, my dad has a plane. He's a pilot. It's a little 4-seater from the 70s, and it looks like the 70s. It's
awesome.
like cream and like dark cream and maybe like Aggie maroon colored. He'd kill me for saying Aggie.
I mean, that plane, it's like a part of my childhood. It is kind of the one like constant in my life.
Yeah, we had this song that we had an idea of recording 1 to 2 people at a time on different like quick flights of 2 people sitting in the back seats of the plane. And it's tiny, it's beyond cramped, and having the person in the co-pilot seat filming and have 2 by 2 play their parts. Have you ever flown in like a Cessna or anything?
Oh man, this is really happening. It's not that I have a fear of flying. I think I just have a healthy respect for my mortality now. Maybe everything is scarier now that I have something to lose. My girlfriend almost died a few months ago, and when I say she almost died, I mean she needed 5 pints of blood. I mean she was comatose for a few days. I mean she thought my name was David when she woke up. I mean she is only now relearning to walk. Things can and will end without rhyme or reason. And so as silly as it was, I left a note for her on my notepad before I got onto the plane. I revealed my email password. You know, so she could check my email. In case of my death, look, I don't know. See, this is what that kid with the Game Boy was afraid of. Finding what you're looking for, only to die in a fiery plane crash soon afterwards. I suppose I'm not used to people actually following through on the smallest of plans, so this floored me. This was something rare and special and worthy of my awe. It was like I just saw a unicorn. And that unicorn was going to take me up into the air. So I guess it's also a Pegasus. A Pegasus unicorn. You know what? Shut up. I'm not teaching a mythology course here.
On the kitchen stove, back in Tennessee. You started young. It filled your lungs with all the amputees. Black, eyed, and drunk. You sleep in cars and drain their batteries. For shooting sun. Family dog, familiar melodies. Horse, blind, is on. I wouldn't know.
Can you believe that shit worked?
Yeah, that's what
With my face turning green.
Oh, God. Survived anyway. And just ask him about the little air bubble just before we landed.
Oh yeah.
I guess you called it air bubble at the end. So it was a little freaky. Right before we landed, he kind of like went like that.
Potential is fantastic. Effort is better, said the man sitting in his pajamas on Tuesday afternoon eating M&Ms.
Chris.
Feeling kind of sick now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the hardest truth I've ever had to face about myself is that sometimes having potential is functionally equivalent to doing nothing. But effort is terrifying. Effort introduces the possibility of failure. Effort introduces the possibility of throwing up in a tiny plane. Then there are guys like this who don't seem so far removed from the way I think, at least individually.
It's really hard for me to make a lot of decisions really quick. Like if I go to a sandwich place and you can choose your own toppings, that's a nightmare.
Yet they do this, and this, then this, almost on a whim.
I don't know, the sort of urgency and, I don't know, thrown together nature of what we were doing there. I feel like that really comes across in the music, you know. It's just like, you know, let's just do it and see what happens.
All right.
Oh really? Yeah. Let's get out of here.
Fun stuff. Thanks, dudes.
How do you get from one end of the spectrum to the other? How do you push yourself like that?
When I was real young, not real young, but you know, 10 to 12, my hair was a fair bit lighter than it is now, and like no one over there has blonde hair or really light colored hair, and I think there was a superstition of like patting kids on the head, and so just random people in supermarkets or, you know, wherever would just like be touching my hair and patting me on the head. And
Everyone knows you.
My mom likes to tell me that she learned English from Sesame Street, though to say that either of my parents have mastered the English language would be frankly untrue. They get by, in the same way I get by with my Korean. It frightens me to think about how thorough my integration has been, how quickly and completely I forgot my first language.
yeah, it's Indonesian. It's called Bahasa Indonesia. I used to be pretty fluent. I've completely forgotten it at this point. Yeah.
Because even though I was born and raised in the suburbs of Chicago, I might as well have been raised in Korea. All the people we socialized with were Korean, our church was Korean, our grocery store was Korean. I hate to think of myself as a non-native English speaker, but I suppose, yes, technically, English is my second language. My parents don't mind reminding me of this, though I wonder what they expected. I think about that a lot, what they imagined the life of an immigrant to be. I think about their last days in Korea. Knowing my mom, she must have wept unendingly. Knowing my dad, he must have double-checked, triple-checked the luggage. I wonder what they thought their future kids' lives would be like. They imagined for us great wealth and great friendships and great families, I'm sure, but could they have predicted the actual outcome? Could they have predicted the way that I feel like a foreigner all the time? That there is no group of people, no place, no culture where I feel like I belong 100%.
You don't have a common vernacular or way that people act in certain situations, and I don't know, it took me a while to adjust.
Or did they imagine that my sister and I would be everything to everybody because we were American, and why couldn't we be? I don't mean to sound bitter. I'm not. Because I've found freaks like me in this world. Because if you think that feeling like an outcast is the exclusive privilege of third culture kids, then you simply haven't met many people.
We share so many stories and so many experiences that I don't know. It's like somebody you grew up with.
been so long and we've been through so much that if it were any other way, it probably would have disintegrated by now.
I wonder too if my parents are disappointed that I live in a near constant state of fear and anxiety. I wonder if they know I'm getting better at it, getting closer to their capacity for adventure. And they are adventurous. They must be, or else how would they have been able to move to a new country? I can imagine them talking about it for the first time, imagine that adrenaline rush of excitement at the mere thought of it. I can see my dad, so much less wary than he is now, so much quicker to smile, sitting with my mom. Young love written on their faces, not yet burdened by their savage, calamitous history. He asks her if she's serious, if she really wants to go for it, if she really wants to start over in America. And then I imagine this, and I am certain it must be true. I imagine she leans in close to his face, her eyes shining with hopeful tears. "Let's just do it," she says. "Let's just do it and see what happens."